Hello friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to spend some time here in the chicken coop gardens. We're going to do a little pruning, a little cleaning, just general taking care of the garden, getting it ready for spring, because it may be the end of February, but spring here in North Carolina Zone 8A is just around the corner. The plants are telling me so, and we are going to show some love to this garden that has been neglected this winter. We're going to prune hydrangeas. We're going to trim back some holly bushes. I've got spireas that need to be pruned. I've got perennial grasses, general kind of maintenance, cleanup, tidying. I even have some slow release fertilizer that we're probably going to go ahead and put out because I'm in the space. Let's go ahead and feed these plants while we are here. So that is what we are going to do. I was telling Jerry, he was up here just a second ago, I feel very overwhelmed in this garden because there is so much to be done. But as the old saying goes, what's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So today we're going to take a bite out of this garden and work on it. So let me show you what I know for sure that I want to get done. So that's the best way for me to do this is what bottom line, if I only get one thing done, what is it that I want to get done? And I'm going to kind of walk down the steps here just a little bit, and I'm going to show you so you can see it from this perspective. All right, if I only get one thing done today, it is that I want to prune my firelight hydrangeas. These are a beautiful panicle hydrangea that get nice and big. They bloom on new growth every year, so I am guaranteed to have flowers. I want to get these pruned. So we're going to prune those, number one. Number two, behind it, I have some Nellie Stevens hollies. These are three of the hollies. They have been here for a long time. When I say a long time, 5 years, 6 years. And this was but we planted them well before we even thought about having a chicken coop up here. So I was going to try to get an evergreen screen going. I still love them. Nellie Stevens, you will see a ton in landscapes. A lot of times builders, landscapers, don't ask me why, they will plant them right on the side of a house, on the corner of a house. They get way too big, and in 20, 30 years, landscapers are coming in and trying to rip them out, and they are a nightmare. I planted these here because I want them to get nice and big and have a beautiful evergreen structure. They're producing berries, so the birds love them, but they need to be shaped up. I have never pruned them, and I need to shape them so that they stay nice and tight and keep a beautiful habit. We're not going to shear these things back. We're going to be selective on our pruning. Like I said, the main goal is to prune it so that it stays nice, tight, thick foliage. I still want it to grow and get nice and big and full and live to her maximum potential, but I don't want her to be sparse. So that is that. Yeah, so we're going to start with that, and then like I said, we'll move on. I do have some perennial grasses that we can prune because I know sometimes that's maybe intimidating, or like how to prune a perennial grass. And then abelias, not spireas. I think I said spireas, abelias. We need to prune our abelias. I'm going to show you how I know that it's time to prune those abelias. So first things first, we're going to get the hydrangeas done, the hollies done. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that, and then we'll move on from there. See what the day holds. You never know around here. Okay, my friends, so let's talk about pruning panicle hydrangeas. There are two types of hydrangeas that you want to prune at the end of winter going into spring. Those are your panicle hydrangeas and your smooth hydrangeas, your arborescent hydrangeas. Those are the ones that bloom on new growth every year. So that means they have not yet formed their flower buds for the 2025 growing season. I can safely prune these, and I am guaranteed to have flowers this year. In fact, pruning it encourages it to have more flowers. I can see exactly where I pruned it last year, and then I've got great growth from this past year. So it's actually, yeah, so what it pruned in 2024, then what it grew in the summer of 2024, and then my flowers on the end. That is why we want to prune these now. Firelights are beautiful because they're nice and big and massive, and they do gorgeous flowers that will turn a nice kind of for me in the North Carolina, a very, very soft pink, little pink hues to them. They don't get intensely hot pink like they do in cooler climates. These have been here for quite a few years. So these are definitely well-established, mature firelights. They could be bigger. They've been neglected for a little bit. That's why we're here, going to give them some love, and we're going to fertilize them after we prune them. How do you prune one? How much do you take off? Well, if you want to kind of reduce the size of it, if it's gotten way too big, you could cut it back by half. I don't. I want them to be nice and huge. So what I'm going to do is basically, where I see that I pruned it last year, I'm going to come up 2 leaf nodes on each stem and cut it there. You can see those little leaf nodes because they're starting to swell already. So I come in and I just clip. Now that means I'm taking it back maybe a third, not even a third probably, more like a fourth, and you're going to cut every single limb on the hydrangea. You just take your Felcos, I have Felco 2s, your pruners, whatever your preferred method of clipping is, then that's what you want to use. Now, let's say you're like, Jenny, that is way too tedious. I am not going through and touching every single limb on that hydrangea. I want to get it done really quick. Well, my friend, you can use your hedge trimmers, you can use your chainsaw. It is not going to be the end of the world if you just come in here and meow, cut them all the way back. Totally fine. This is just my preferred method. So I've got 5 of these that I need to get done. So that's what we're going to do. Then I'll come back and I'm going to show you how I'm going to fertilize. What do I use to fertilize my hydrangeas? Then we'll move on to the hollies. As you can see, hydrangeas have been pruned. Still a really nice height. This is absolutely 3.5 feet tall right now. Just got everybody pruned back, get all of those limbs cleaned up, sheared back. There you go. So all 5 have been done. When you're coming out of winter going into spring, forget about what the calendar says, listen to your plants, right? And so we are beginning to have that process. I've got anemones that are blooming below me. I've got daffodils that are getting ready to put on some flowers right here beside a Brenna. The garden is beginning to wake up here in North Carolina. This is when we need to feed the plants. I tell it's like a bear coming out of hibernation. The plants are coming out of hibernation from the winter. They're going into their growing season, so they need to be fed. If you hear one thing from me in this, is that I want you to feed your plants. There is grace in gardening, y'all. But with your perennials and your shrubs and your trees, we're talking about really fertilizing them 1 time a year. This is the optimal time of the year to do that. Use what you have. Slow release fertilizer on these guys is the best. You don't have to worry about burning them or sending them any kind of shock or over fertilizing them really. The Swiss Army knife of all fertilizers, in my opinion, is the plant tone from Espoma. So if you have nothing else, or you only have, you can only buy 1 fertilizer, buy plant tone. That can do flowers, vegetables, shrubs, trees, you name it, it'll do anything. If you want to get more specific, you can. Because we have the nursery, I have these fertilizers available to me. Therefore, when it's able, I do diversify. Spring Meadow Nursery, who is the home to all of the Proven Winners Color Choice shrubs. They are the breeder, the grower of this fantastic hydrangea and many, many other hydrangeas. They recommend using a slow release rose fertilizer. So I am using Rose Tone. This is, your hydrangeas have the same nutritional requirements as roses because they are that flowering shrub on woody ornamental, right? So what I have, and obviously follow the directions on the Rose Tone bag, but I have a Tupperware container because it's nice and tough and hard and rigid. So I just take it, and y'all, again, you can do as much or as little as you want as far as like prep. This is what I do. I take it and I shake it. Brenda might want to move because she might get toned. And I come around and I shake it, what we call the drip line. That just means all around the plant. Since there's no leaves on the plant, I don't have to worry about it being stuck to the edges. So I just come in, yep, Brenda, you might want to move, and I shake. Now at this point, if you want to go ahead and get a little rake and rake it in, you absolutely can. Work it into the mulch, that would be optimal. Yeah, I've got a lot of work to be done. We're gonna get a bunch of rain that's gonna soak all this in. I'm not gonna do it. they'll be fine. Again, grace in gardening, my friends. So we're gonna get these fertilized real quick. Then we're gonna move up to the Nellie Stevens. As far as fertilizing those, still gonna fertilize those. They are a holly tree, so guess what we're gonna use? That's right, Hollytone. Hollytone is great for your acidic loving plants, your hollies, your gardenias, your azaleas, your camellias, your evergreens. They love Hollytone. So, but first we gotta prune them, then we'll fertilize them. All right, my friends, so the 3 Nellie Stevens. Basically, again, I'm gonna use my Felcos because I absolutely could use a hedge trimmer here. But like I've told you before with my other evergreens, if I use a hedge trimmer, inevitably a lot of these leaves are gonna get cut in half and then they have a brown line, and I don't want that. I want this to have a nice clean look when I'm finished, and really you couldn't tell that it had been pruned. I am going to give a gentle shape up. So I'm like most other plants when we prune them, just like the hydrangeas, wherever there are 2 leaves, I'm gonna go above 2 leaves and I'm going to prune. I can't tell you exactly how much I'm gonna prune off because I really don't know. I'm just going in for a shape. That may be 12 inches right there, and I'm just gonna kind of toss everybody on the ground. And just, again, the reason I'm doing this is I want to have a nice thick plant, and that is what we're gonna do. So I can't say that I'm gonna touch every single branch because, oh my, we would be here for a long time. But I am gonna try to take it back by 12, 14 inches or so. Anything that's really gangly and out there, then we're gonna prune it back. But there's a lot of limbs, so we're just gonna go for it. All right, my friends, I've got the hollies pruned and fertilized. I'll show you what they look like here when we get done. But we're gonna move on to pruning perennial grasses, and then we're gonna do some abelias. I've got 3 Apache roses right here, planted them as 1 gallons last year. They are still relatively small for an Apache rose. Super simple. So you want to prune your perennial grasses before they put on some new growth down there at the bottom. And basically we're gonna just kind of gather it up like a ponytail and cut it off 6 to 8 inches from the ground. We're gonna give it a flat top. Now, if these get bigger, which I hope they do, then what we'll do is, to make it a lot easier, is you can get like a bungee cord or a rope, tie it around it, really just cinch it up like a ponytail. But since I can easily get in here, it's still a nice manageable size, I can just hold it with my hand and I come in and I prune it. Simple as that. If you want to do a campfire, makes a great fire starter. So there you go, burns nice and fast and hot. And then you can just come in and clean it up. So good thing is I do not see any green growth down here. So that means I have chosen an appropriate time to go ahead and prune them. Doesn't mean they're dead. It just means that it's still a little too cool for them. And so I have not cut off any of this year's coming growth to leave those little brown tips on the edges of the blades. So I've got 2 more to do. Literally just cut them to the ground, y'all. The only ones that I do not prune is my Carexes. So my Feather Falls, my Everillos, my Blue Zingers, those I don't prune because they're evergreen. So what I'll do is, if they have some damage in there or some brown leaves, then I just come through with my fingers and just kind of rake it like you're combing the grass's hair. And those older dead leaves will come off of it, and that's as simple as you do. So I don't shear those back. Carexes are those one grasses that we don't shear back. Everything else, if it's brown, cut it. She must have an itchy spot. Because of course she has to do it in front of the camera. Don't you, Brenna? Does that feel good? Oh yeah, is that the spot? Okay. Yes, good girl. All right, we gotta prune some more grasses, okay? All right, go get a stick. My friends, we've got 3 Mucho Gusto abelias right here. You want to wait to prune your abelias when you start to see new growth popping out. And I can see new little leaves beginning to form on my stems. So that tells me it is a good time to go ahead and prune these. You want to prune your abelias once a year to keep them nice and tight and compact. This is what I call a semi-evergreen shrub. Abelias are what I call a semi-evergreen. They have their leaves on them, but they certainly are not nice and thick and full throughout the entire winter. Now, this is going to be that case of very much like the grasses. We are going to come in here, and you absolutely 110% could use your hedge trimmers on these. I did just the other day when I was at the nursery, and I was pruning the kaleidoscope abelias that are on the bank, but you're just going to gather everything up, and we just want to trim it back. You can easily trim these back by half, and I'm just going to tell you, they're going to look terrible when you prune them. They're going to look sad, they're going to look pathetic, but that's okay. Sometimes we have to look a little rough to look beautiful in the long run, and that is the case for your abelias. So we're just going to go around and whack. If you want to go through and be super precise, you can, but there is certainly no need to do that. As soon as we get some nice consistent warm weather, these are going to flush out, be nice and thick, and are going to be stunning. All right, my friends, so today's project is complete. I feel accomplished, but I do want to get back out here tomorrow and get some more work done, because this garden is going to be lovely this year, but she needs a little bit of TLC. She needs a lot of TLC, friends. So I need to give it to her so that way she will just be absolutely spectacular. I'm gonna go through right quick because I didn't show you like all of the finished pruning that I did. So we'll do that and then maybe talk about some other things as well. Brenna, of course, found a nice big stick, so she was very happy with that. Okay, so grasses. This is now what the grasses look like. You really don't even see them, right? They're just those little tops in the garden, and that is it. I see our first set of jonquils coming up right here. They're all throughout around the Ashley River Angel, so that is going to be really fun and gorgeous once they bloom. I loved them last year. You might notice that in the kind of the teal aqua pot right here, we have, this is the Rock Steady Vitex. I planted it as a quart probably mid-summer. And y'all, this container is definitely the size of a 3-gallon, maybe even a little bit more, a 4-gallon. And I have to dump out the water every time it rains because the roots are coming out the bottom so vigorously that it stops it up. So what we're going to do with the Rock Steady Vitex is, I've already decided, Jerry and I were talking, we're gonna put it in one of the backyard beds. Cannot wait. I just need it to stop raining so that things will slightly dry up so that we can get in there and work. Right now it is an absolute muddy mess and everything is completely saturated, so I can't really plant a whole lot or work and use equipment because it is just so wet. But that Rock Steady, she's going in the backyard. Very excited to see her back there as I redesign those 2 backyard beds. And then here we have the Mucho Gusto abelias. The leaves get all stuck in them, and I didn't have the blower or the rake with me, so there you go. You can see that it is not a pretty prune, right? You just get in there and just shape it up all the way around, not being specific with the cuts at all as far as like the cut placement on the shrub. And I'm telling you, they are going to be gorgeous once they flush back out. We will go ahead and, as I continue to work in this area, like I said, like I did with the hydrangeas and the hollies, we'll go ahead and start fertilizing. So now is the time, if I'm in the garden and I'm touching the garden and I'm in that space, I'm gonna go ahead and fertilize, because it'll just, that's just that time of year, right, to get those done. All right, let's come around here because the sun is definitely setting and is in my eyes. And so let's go this way so that the sun's not in your eyes as we look at the hollies and the hydrangeas right here. So here we go. They are nice and pruned. So there you go. You've got the fire lights are all pruned, nice and shaped up. They're lovely little sticks. And then you have got the hollies. The hollies, maybe you can't tell a huge difference on them, but definitely got them cleaned up, thinned out, not thinned out, pruned back some. so they don't look thin, and went ahead and even took some of the little bit of the top off. Got them a nice dose of that Holly Tone fertilizer. These, I think when we planted these were 15 gallons. So these were nice big plants. Hopefully this will help them, because like I said, this is the first time that I have pruned them. I want them to be nice and thick, right, and gorgeous. So between fertilizing them and pruning them, that will definitely help. As we come down closer to the wood line, they get a little bit thinner, and I'm sure that is because of sun. The one on the end that gets the most sun, she is the thickest, but it is what it is. I did try to prune it so that I wasn't cutting off the berries. So you can see, like right here, I pruned it right above where the berries are. That way the birds still have plenty to eat, and so there's loads of berries still on there for them to have fun with. But yeah, so that is what I did. What still needs to be done is just some cleanup. This is El Nino, and you can see how nice and big and vigorous this is. Planted this as a small 1 gallon, not quite 2 years ago now. And it is massive. Not on irrigation, horrible red clay, full hot sun all the time, and it is nice and big. So your El Nino desert orchid will bloom on new growth. So what I will do is, you can see where it was pruned last year, right? So it was pruned right here, and then look at all of that massive growth. I mean, crazy growth. That is probably 3 feet worth of growth right there. Same thing here. This is where it was pruned, and then boom, I mean, just went nuts. So I will definitely go ahead and get that done. And again, you prune kind of above right where these little nodules are. That's where the leaves are. So we'll do that. May wait because just a little bit, because like I said here in the next, or maybe I said in this video, I don't remember when I said it, that we're supposed to have like another low of like 16 degrees. So might as well just wait just a little bit longer. Try to do the fig tree as well. I saw that Mimi pruned her fig tree, so I might recruit her to come down here. I've never pruned the fig tree, so might get her to come help me and give old Figgy a nice little trim, because definitely needs one. And then just general maintenance, right? There's weeds everywhere, winter weeds, cleaning up, just, you know, the normal stuff. So anyway, it has been a nice productive afternoon here at the chicken coop. Like I said, before we know it, it is going to be hot, and this is one of my hottest spots in the garden. So I am going to enjoy this space while I am not sweating and enjoy the sunshine. It's been a great day. As always, we appreciate you. Y'all have a great day. See you next video. Bye, friends.